All right, so I will start. And again, my name's Michelle Lenz. I'll be doing the demo. We're going to follow your script. I've jumped away from the Citizenserve webpage to the online portal, which is part of your subscription. It's configurable. We're going to jump right in and we're going to apply for a permit. Before I do that, I want to point out that I'm not logged into the system yet. So when I click the apply for a permit button, it takes me to the login screen. And here I can sign in with my own credentials. If I were a new user, I would just use the register now button, and that would let me register on a short screen, and then it would take me to this same application page. Here I can pick the application type I want. We'll define as many application types as you need. In this case, I'm going to go with our building permit. And just note, anything you see in a dropdown is configurable. So here I'm going to pick, say, remodel repair, and my work description is going to be text. Let's say new kitchen. And we have the ability to tie this application with an existing project. If you had an electrical or a plumbing, you could put in that number. For this demo, we're going to say a new project, and I'll put in my address. So I'm going to type in a partial address, 941 Bakersfield. When I type find address, it's going to find that parcel address in our address database and pull it into the system. You can see parcel and ownership data. And now it's presented the rest of the application for me. So remember, what you're seeing here is what's defined in our environment, but this is a configurable form. So we'll use our 20 or so custom field types to define your applications in the system. We'll say we're going to build one structure. I should point out anything with a red hash is a required field. So those are what I'll focus on. This will be a residential, and our construction type will be VB, and we'll say that it's 400 square foot kitchen maybe, and our estimated construction cost. We can use these calculations to help generate fees. Now, we know that you have trade licensing in Rochester, so we can integrate with that. When I type in the contractor's name here, it pulls up active licenses, so I can pick my contractor. And now I'm going to upload a submittal document, but I'm going to forget that I need to upload a site plan. I'm going to do a landscape plan for this kitchen remodel. And this plays into your script later. So we will upload that landscape plan. And now we're at terms and conditions. So I'll check the box that I agree, and I'll sign. And I'll just use my mouse to make a signature here. And we'll save. So I'm going to submit this permit. Note the save for later button will let me keep it on my profile. I can resubmit later. And now this prompt is telling me that my application has been received. So we've just completed the first step of submitting that application. We're going to jump to the staff side and look at what it's like to receive that application. So I'm logged in as Morgan Katz. We're on the staff side now. So imagine wearing a name badge. Now this is her task list, and this is in our system's new release. So you can see all of her tasks listed here, the overdue tasks, the due tasks. We're going to jump right in to the application intake review activity. Our workflow routes are configurable. In this case, there's one step that has to happen. This is the application intake review step. It has opened up our whole permit project, so we can see the type of project and the parent file that it's in, the address, and the description. Now, Morgan wants to look at the application, and the easiest way to do that is to use our shortcut here. This is the more information button. It's going to open our permit in a new tab. We're browser-based. We want to make it as simple as possible for you to access the information you need. So on this screen, she gets the whole permit application loaded. You can see it listed here on the Permits tab. And as we scroll down, she's going to take note of this project information. This is the same application that was submitted on the portal, but it has some staff-only fields as well. Now, here she's going to note that that site plan is missing. And as we scroll down, then we see those fees that are displayed here that weren't on the portal. So let's go back to our review activity and let's check off this comment. It says the site plan is missing or incomplete. We want to automate your system for you. So all Morgan has to do is put in a completion date and set the status. In this case, the status is going to be resubmittal required. And when I save this activity, it's going to generate a notification. Now, this prompt is also saying, hey, your review route is finished. Do you want to close it? And I'm going to say yes. That's going to take that task off of her list as well. And it'll close that down. So let's go to my email and we'll see the notification that has been generated. Here we go. So the system will send out generated notifications. In this case, I've cheated and I've put the Rochester logo on. So you can imagine this is just done through HTML. We can make it look however you want. This is our note that we added. That site plan was missing or incomplete. And then we list a link to your applicant so they can get back to the portal. So when I click on this link, it's going to open my portal back up. And it's actually opening it on a new tab because I was already logged in over here. So it's just reusing that window. So I'm still logged in. Let's go to our permit. And here we can see right at the top, we're in our new kitchen. So when I open this up, I have the ability to edit my permit and I can upload that missing site plan document. So here I'll pick site plan and I'll pick the site plan from my computer and now I'll resubmit. So it's simple and transparent for your users to get that email and go back to the portal and do the work that they need to do. I promise we'll spend some more time later, but we want to track the progress of this. Our applicant has just notified staff that they've done this upload. Now we're on the project already in the homepage. So if Morgan is sitting here when something comes through, it'll go to her task list, but we can also find it here on the activities tab. This is notification that an online modification was made. So maybe I'll show you on our home list or her home tab as well, because how likely is it that she'll be in there? So here's our online modification for our new kitchen. So when I click this link, it opens up our activity. Now here, she's going to use this ... to go back to the permit activity, and she's going to see that that permit site plan has been uploaded. Here we can see the document. So she can click on it. She can verify that the document is good. We'll just open this up. This is a PDF file of a site plan. It's not really a kitchen. But let's pretend. So she's just verified that everything has been uploaded and it's correct. So now she wants to approve this permit. So we're actually on this permit and we're going to change the status to approved. Note, it puts in an approval date and that there's a balance due. When we save this change, the system is going to automatically notify the applicant that their permit has been approved and it's ready to pay. But let's take a look at that activity that she was just working on. Right? Any activity is going to be out on your task list, but this one has been automatically closed. So we're going to jump out to the portal again, and I want to show you the email notification that just came through. This is the balance due on approved permit. It gives our permit number. It says our permit has been approved and will be issued once the balance is paid in full. And then there are instructions on how to make an online payment. So again, we click this link to go to the portal. I'm already open in the portal on this task, so I can just click to the make a payment link. So this payment processor allows credit card payments. Depending on the one you pick, you can take other payment types, an ACH or an e-check. I'll put in my payment information here. And then we'll do maybe December. And now we'll submit this payment. So here we get a receipt. Now the system is also going to generate notifications based on this activity, and we can work with you to configure the notifications so they include very specific Rochester information. Now we've added some components here. Normally jurisdictions want to issue the permit by themselves, so they would get notice that the permit was ready to be issued. In this case, we've issued the permit and it's generated an email. So here is the email. It says, congratulations, your building permit has been issued and is available below. You must schedule your required inspections with instructions on how to do that. And then here's an example of a permit document. We would configure yours based on your current template. So in this case, let's go back and let's take a look at what that inspection process looks like. Now, we know that in your RFP, you would like to have your citizens schedule an inspection. And what we currently have built in our system is a request process, which puts the onus of scheduling that on staff hands. We've bid in our proposal, building out a scheduling mechanism for you. But what I can show you right now is if we go to the issued tab, here's our new kitchen. And let's go ahead and put in that request. So I'm going to pick the inspection type that I want, and I'm going to select my inspection date. If you notice, this is the last day in May that isn't a holiday and that but it won't let me pick today as an inspection date. So if I go to June, I can pick the 1st. That's because we've blocked out Fridays. So this is just how this system is built. We have those controls. I'm going to go ahead and select an afternoon time period, and then I'll put in an initial. And now I could submit this request. We know that you want to put that in the hands of your citizens to allow them to pick an inspector's time frame and schedule it on their calendar. So that's what we would build. Now let's go take a look at this permit. This is part of your requirements that you want your customers to see the history of their projects. So this is the permit file itself. They have tools over here, but their permit application and other details are in the center of the screen. So the permits tab gives a display of that permit application. The review tab shows the review route that was assigned. We can do consecutive or concurrent reviews. So if you have to send this out to other departments, we can manage that as well. The Documents tab is going to show all the documents that have been uploaded or generated. So there's that signature that I made and the landscape plan that we initially uploaded. Here's the site plan that we re-uploaded in that edit process. And then the system generated emails, including our building permit. And then finally, that inspection detail is going to be listed here. So in addition to showing this information and the history, you want your citizens to be able to come in and edit their information. And they can do that through the My Accounts tab. If they just log in to the portal, this is where their landing page is. They can access all of the services that you want to offer. This is, again, a configurable page. And they can update their information by clicking on this link. So here, this is pulling up my contractor registration type. All of these fields are editable for me. So I can edit my email address in here or any of this contact information. Plus, we can add additional fields so you can gather all of the data you need for this registration type. Now, you also wanted your maybe property owners to be able to update their management companies or their occupants. And in that case, you may want to have them actually edit the application type itself. So we'll go back to view our requests. And on any of these permits, let's go to, say, this electrical permit. You can see the contractor's name is on the permit, so I can edit the permit and I can update this field. This is not a very big application. So I could put in my tradesperson or contractor here. If this were, say, a rental registration and you had tenants listed there, this is how you could update it as well. Another format for that would, another way that we could manage that is to work with you to figure out, if you want to have your staff do that change or if you want to put it in the constituents' hands. We have options for doing that. And I guess one other option would be if we come back to the permit, there's this leave a message button that would allow your constituents to notify your staff that they wanted a change made if this edit button were not available or if you wanted to lock it down. So lots of options here. I think that the last thing that we need to go over is how your constituents can search for licensed trade people. So we're back at the home screen. I wanted to point out we have a couple different search features here. Here's a search for license, search for permit. These are all going to point us up to the search tab. So I'm going to pick the licensing one because it's going to fill in our file type. You can see all of our file types can be searchable, and we can make them, all of your file types searchable when they're online with us as well. So in this case, I can pick a license type of, say, trade license, and then when I submit, it's going to pull up the active trade licenses in the system. There's only 2 because this is a demo environment. Now, this trade license allows me to open up the license itself. This search result does, and I can see the information about this license. Some jurisdictions love how transparent this search feature is. If you don't want to give your citizens this much access, we would simply disable the search feature, and we could write a custom report that would allow your constituents to search for whatever license. In this case, there's a rental license report or a vacation rental near you. Let's look at this vacation rental licenses report. Oh, and it's on a map. So this is just another file output type. And when you have a map report in the system, you can click the pin and it pops up that information. So we have the ability to write multiple reports to present the information you want your constituents to have. This is one example of how to do that. Let me just refer to my Script. Oh, just a couple more things in the 3 minutes that we have. You want to make sure that the portal works on different computers or your phone. And this portal was written with HTML5 responsive design. It works so much better when I don't have things behind it and you can just see it on a blue screen. So if I came to the portal site using my tablet device, the content is going to shrink and display in a logical way. So I can still go to my home page. And I can click apply for a license, and it's going to pull up that login page. Now, if I were on a cell phone, again, the content is going to shrink and give it to me in a logical way. In fact, our clickable menu is now a finger clickable menu. We can go back to the home page. And we see all of our content here. We know that this is important, right? Because with so many devices that can serve a web page, we don't want you to have to jump through hoops. With this sort of build, the system does the work for you. So it works on all of those. And then one last item is accessibility in different languages. So we're using Chrome. Chrome has a great translate feature. So this is our portal translated into Spanish, but we can translate into any language that Google Languages has defined. So maybe Persian, it just automatically translates it using this functionality. And go to Bengali. And I believe that we have reached the bottom of our script. So we are 1 minute ahead, but I believe we have 10 minutes of questions.
So I think that was really great. You went speeding through it. It was super good. We would probably be happy to carry through to the C of O process and do questions at the end, unless does anybody want to have a question right now? Nope. Okay. I hope you weren't expecting too much of a break there.
I was going to take a break. No, let's
Sorry.
go. No, this is fine.
Okay.
Let's see. So let me shrink down my screens. So our inspection process for the certificate of occupancy, we have built this in our new site. So this is Liam. He is our building inspector. And he's got his task list open here, and this inspection is on his to-do list today. So let's open up this task. We're really excited to show you some of these features. Our big take home from our last demonstration to you was how much volume you manage and how much automation you are going to depend on to really make your lives easier. So we have been able to build some of these features in to show you, and we hope that you'll be excited about what you see. So this shows us that we're on the inspections tab. This is a CO inspection. And again, we're on a permit project here. I imagine this would be part of a certificate of occupancy permit or some type of file that would be submitted, and this inspection would be part of that process. So we've built your right of entry form into the form itself. So when we come down to this inspection was conducted, it shows you this drop-down list that has the items from your form. So the inspector can click with the list, or if they want to say right of entry form, they just type an R and they get that value. Now, you have a contact field and an occupancy type, but with Citizenserve, if you have occupants already associated with the file, they're going to be in the contacts field, and there's a contacts tab here. So we have contacts available. So if you come on site and your inspector interviews an occupant and they're not on this list, they can actually add a contact. And so I'm going to add Jane Doe. And if you notice, I'm going to search for this contact to see if she's already in the system. So we can pick Jane Doe in this. I'm going to pick Jane Doe at 860 Price Street. And pull her in as a contact on this card. It pulls in her contact type and her occupancy type, but you could also type in, you could have this as an entry field if that's what you prefer, but this adding Jane Doe to this card is going to keep her associated with this. And if your permit includes that contact information, it'll be available for your inspector to pick. So we think it will shorten your data entry. But I'm going to say John Doe, and we'll say that he's an occupant. We have your full list of fields here. And then the reason for inspection will be the certificate of occupancy. So I'm going to show you a new data field type. This is called a custom table. It's a table within a table. We're very excited about it. I'm going to type in, say, our unit number. Now, you said we're supposed to add violations on 3 units. So if this is a 72 building unit building, then you're going to have maybe you'll be, entering violations in Unit 3 and in Unit 70 and in Unit 71. In this case, this is a townhouse, so I could call it Unit 101. Doesn't matter. You can enter anything in this field is what I'm trying to say. We know that your form is currently checkbox enabled, so I can either tab and say I've got something in the dining room and in the kitchen and in bedroom 1 and in bedroom 2, and it's that the ceiling needs to be patched and painted. So I'm entering the violation here. This is a searchable screen. So I type in SE or CEIL and it pulls up anything that searches that. So if your inspectors know the keyword that they're looking for, they'll pull it up in this list. And I just pick it and I tab over and I can say, patch and paint holes in ceiling. I wish I could tell you that I was doing this on purpose to showcase the spell check feature, but that was really a typo. So if you notice, we have an add row button, but we also want to make this efficient. So if your inspectors want to be on their keyboard, they can tab. So I just tabbed twice and now I'm ready to type in Unit 101. Now, you may be thinking, why isn't it carrying that unit down? We were able to configure this to showcase a lot of these great features. This carry down feature to enter the, carry the unit number down or the room number down is possible. It's in our developers queue right now. So here I can go ahead and say, there's an issue in the kitchen. Let's say it's the oven that needs to be repaired. So we'll say appliances and I can type oven. And now I'm ready to enter violations in the next unit. So I'll enter 102. And here, let's say that it's a bathroom issue. Oh, and I'll scroll down so you can see. Here, I can type in, say it's a cabinet issue, but I'll show you the full list. You notice they all start with INT for interior. This is based on your current violation list. Your inspector can scroll down through this list. And there we go. It's a long list. It's everything in the list of values that I've entered that has interior on it. So I can choose outlets are missing. And then I'll show you the add row feature, just adds a row. Imagine that the units we're carrying forward. We could say in the hallway that there's a paint issue. And let's keep adding violations here. So in Unit 3, let's say that in bedroom 1, there is a deadbolt. It's a lock that's a double lock that needs to be removed. And how about the next violation will be, here we'll add the cabinets need repair. So we've just entered 6 violations across your 3 units in really rapid succession. Now we need to add some violations for your basement. So here I'm going to type in basement. And I'm not going to pick a room, but we have some basement violations in here too. So when I type in, we'll scroll down so you can see, we'll say the wiring is unapproved and we'll add an additional. Basement violation. About the panel. All right, so we've just added 8 violations across these different units and these different spaces. Now, in order to be efficient, all your inspector needs to do to complete this inspection activity is to select the date and then to set the status. And because we know we need to generate a notice of order, the status is going to be issue notice and order. And when I save this, it's going to trigger that inspection to be generated. Now, what has also happened, rats, I was going to show you this in the beginning. The CO inspection was the only inspection on the tab. The system just generated this reinspection activity. And let me show you the notice and order email that was just generated. So again, we're giving you an example here, but this is done through HTML, so we can make it look however you want. In this case, we've got a table set up with that file information. Here is the occupant that I added by typing in John Doe's name. And then here's Jane Doe. I selected her and her occupant residency type or contact type was carried through from the contact database. So those data fields are just available. And then this is notice and order information. So we're pulling in the address here, and here's a parcel. And then down below, inspector signature, we've got our violations. So in Unit 101, we have our 2 violations with our comments, and in Unit 102, we again have these violations according to the room. And then down below, we have those basement comments as well. So this is an example for you, but if you have ideas about how you want this formatted, we can modify them for you. So let me see what else I wanted to show you about this, because we've done some pretty cool things now. So on a daily basis, your inspectors are going to go through and they're going to do these inspections. They're going to generate these emails automatically. And then you want the system to automate a process at night to print out all of your notice and orders and to get those mailed out. So we've got a report set up that will do this. I'm clicking over to the reports tab. This shows the Rochester reports that we've written. I'm going to run this daily notice and order, and we will do it for today. When I run this, this is going to pull in any notice and order. And for today, I think there's just been one. So here we can again see that same letter in this same format. I can't trigger a nightly process, but this was how it would be done. And it would just be a batch of all of those notices that have been generated for the day. We're going to look at that reinspection type. Let's pretend that it's really a month later and it's time for us to revisit. This task would be on Liam's task list on the date that it's due. And if we open up this task, you'll be able to see, again, we're on this inspection activity. If I scroll down, here are all of those violations that we logged in the system. Now, your inspector is probably going to have to fill out that right of entry form, so we'll do that here. Let's say that this time we talk to June Doe, who is an occupant. And that reason for inspection is still going to be certificate of occupancy. And our contact, Jane, that we added is still listed here. So again, this is just an example of the different field types that we have. You don't have to enter all of these, and we don't have to include them in your forms. Now, if your inspector walks through and some of the violations are cleared or abated, they can mark that on the list, but we know you want your inspector to be able to walk through and clear everything all at once. And the way they can do that is to set the completion status. If they're done with the inspection and everything looks good, they don't have to touch that inspection activity. They just have to complete this with a status of issue certificate of occupancy. So when I save this activity, it's going to trigger a couple of things. First, it's going to close that activity. And here on the inspections tab, you see your history and you see the different statuses. And in a second, it's going to put that email in my inbox. There it is. So here is that certificate of occupancy that they can download. Now, in this case, I think you also wanted the case to be closed. So if we click over to, I'll show you a couple of the different tabs. On the permits tab, we're going to see this status that this has now been finalized and that close date is today. And if we click over to the documents tab, you're going to get a history of all of the documents that have been generated. So the notice of order and that certificate of occupancy. And this is when I approved it earlier in prep for the demo. Now, the last item on the list would be that nightly process, and that would be for the certificate of occupancy. This is just a sample report. We will run it for today. And this is going to pull up that certificate of occupancy that can be printed and mailed. So you also have an integration to like your SharePoint site or your document management site. I'm showing you our document list because it lists these items here. Remember, we can generate these items as PDF. We have a process to write for that. But we can integrate with your SharePoint site. We don't have that integration built for this environment, so I can't showcase that feature. But I have come to the end of the code enforcement demo script as well. So we have a little bit of extra time here for your questions.
Finishing early on a Friday is always a treat. So
on a Memorial Day weekend, I know you guys are dedicated to have this group here, I have to say.
We are dedicated.
Were you awake? Do you have questions? That's why.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure there's questions. Does anybody want to jump in?
I got a couple questions, Jill, if you don't mind. It's Albert.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Misha. Thank you very much. I just had two questions for you. I love the fact that you can attach contact information to a case, right? So we can document occupants, we can document property managers. Now, on a lot of these properties, the occupants and even the property managers, unfortunately, sometimes it's like a revolving door. So we have people coming and going. I'm assuming there's an option to also delete contacts from this, and as time goes by, we can update them.
Yes,
Oh, trash
absolutely.
cans. You're pointing to trash cans. I see. Yeah, thank you. Okay. And then the second question I had, I noticed when you were citing the violations, you were typing them in. We have so many, and I know that some inspectors, especially the newer ones, may not be too familiar with typing these in right away. Is there a list they can also choose from, pick and choose from?
So it is a searchable field. So they will need to be trained on the keywords, like I'm doing an interior inspection. So let's open this one up and I will add a violation. Oh, we'll use this row. So this is one of those things where we want to work with you to iterate over the best way to present this information. This searchable keyword is a really powerful tool. You do have to give it a head start. So when I type INT for interior, I pull up everything. Sorry, we're at the bottom of my screen. Everything in this list, and then I do get a pick list, and I can say, oh yeah, it's infestation. Or I can say, oh no, it wasn't really, I'm really, let's see if I have any exterior. I have a couple exterior. So if they know those keywords, they'll get anything on this list. But if I type in like infestation, especially if I start with an I, then I pull up anything with those. So we will train your staff, and it doesn't take much to use this field at all.
Right. So really, it's a drop down field, but with that, it kind of helps you to limit that drop down field to something that's germane to what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. No, it's nice. As long as you have both options, and over time you can start to learn those and what those keywords are, it will make things a lot faster. But initially, they probably somewhat have to use the drop down option. So it's great that it has that as well. And that's all the questions that I had. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Albert.
So the inspectors would use this back office in the field. I'm assuming there's not a separate mobile app. It's this
That is correct.
tool
Yep.
in the office, in the field. And so
Any device, any browser will work.
Yep. So we do that currently, but when we go into basements and in certain parts of the city, we lose connectivity. What happens if we lose connectivity?
So if you lose connectivity, you're not going to get logged out. Certain things will, kind of remain cached in the browser, kind of depending on what it is that you're doing. But then you can finish that off when you get back to where you have inspection. But the big thing is, we are going to cache things in the browser, and you're not going to get booted out of the system.
So this inspection, if it wasn't completed yet, I would lose the citations I've already put in.
You would not. That would all.
So I could finish the inspection potentially, or
yep.
Okay, it's losing work that is the concerning, and keeps people using pen and paper instead of trusting the tools, if that's a risk.
So did I hear correctly that whatever you've done when you walk into the moment where you lose connectivity for however long, it is cached what you've done and will sit almost in stasis until you get that connectivity back and allow you to continue from that point?
That is correct.
Thank you.
So if we were to use tablets or something like that in the field, is there any optimization for this for like a point and click where you're using a finger as opposed to a mouse? Like how would that show with like the on-screen keyboard and things like that? I'm just kind of wondering if there's any way for you to show that or speak to that for us.
Yeah, way to ask for something that wasn't in the script. I'm happy to do that. Give me like 2 minutes. Ray, can you talk about something fantastic about Citizenserve while I pull that up?
She's going to show you what she had just done like on an iPad. Really, everything is going to work the same. Everything works just the way that it does in that device. Some of the things are going to change, like the calendar menus will change based on that device. So there'll be the finger-friendly version versus what you might see on your desktop. But everything is going to be fully functional. We don't change anything. It's how that device works, and it's going to continue to work that way with Citizenserve on that browser. So she's going to pull up an emulator here.
Well, can I ask a clarifying question back on the the customer portal, I wrote down a note, and then maybe I'm confusing myself, but you mentioned that the customer that's able to schedule an inspection online is a request process only. And then later you said that this is something that you would build or could build, or is that in your queue to do, or is that something that you don't have currently but would work on? Could you clarify that a little bit?
So the
Yeah.
activity for the, well, go ahead, Misha.
Oh, I was going to say the functionality that most municipalities want is that they want their customers to request the inspection, and they want to take it out of a queue and schedule it for their inspectors. It gives them the power on when to put that on the calendar. But we know that you're dealing with such volume that that request process isn't going to fit your business need. So we've written it into the proposal to build a module for you. So instead of seeing the request and schedule request an inspection button, you would get something else with an interface to a scheduling system that you could pick time from an inspector's calendar and add an inspection to that. Our current process puts it in a queue and allows your staff to schedule it. Does that make sense, or have I?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it makes sense. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your patience. We have added. We're actually simulating an iPad Pro. Here, let me unplug it so you can see I'm holding it. It doesn't disappear. And so let's go use the search feature, right? We've got a file in here that has the certificate of occupancy inspection on it. So I'm going to go up to the search feature and I'm going to type in, say, the last couple of digits of that permit number 26. And this will open our file for us. And we're getting everything from all time. So ours, of course, is at the very bottom. It's the most recent. And here we have the new release. Our staff side is built with a responsive design. So we can go to that inspections tab. We'll open up our completed inspection. So here I'm using my fingers. You can also use a stylus. I have that, but if you are just going out on site, then if we add a row, it pops up the keyboard automatically. I want to just type in here. So when you enter a field, it gives you the ability. So you can say, you know, basement or whatever unit you're in. You could pick a room. And it takes away that keyboard if it's not a text field. But once you get back to a text field, it takes you back to that keyboard, and I can start typing interior, and then I can use my finger to say that door lock is a problem. Oh, I'm in the basement though, so I should be doing basement violations, right? BSM. See if I can get rid of that. There we go. I wanted that to disappear so that I could type a new one. Here we go. So now we've got our basement ones. I'll pick that heating is not done. And then your inspector can do things like type out. I know you said you're in a busy area, but if you are in a quiet area, you can use voice to text. You can say, fix the heating. And that's just a built-in with the tablet. So maybe in this case, instead of tabbing through, you want to use that add row button. So we can add maybe unit 104, you know, and say that it's in the dining room, and then you add another interior.
Show how we do it on time. Good.
Oh, we've got, I think we're doing great in time. This isn't even on the script. So have we answered your question though, before I just go playing around on the tablet?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
And then we can hide this as well. We'll go away.
And so if I wanted to just abate a violation, like 2 violations, it's just the empty square that was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have that on the reinspection. So if you came and only one of the 2 violations was abated, you'd want to check off that box. Oh, this is something that I didn't show you after it was done. The system has marked all of these as abated, but if like how often is this the case that you cite 8 things and they all get taken care of by the next violation? Hopefully a lot, but it seems like anything unchecked you would want to carry forward to the next reinspection. We don't, yeah. We
Okay,
don't
so
have
when,
that built in. I can't show you that, but that is functionality that exists. We just need to code it.
so if we checked off 2 things, next time we come back in, there would be 6
Right.
in the list? Okay. Well, it certainly looks like some of the functionality we're used to seeing. Um, the right of entry looks familiar and straightforward. Does any of our code enforcement team have questions about this?
Jill, this is Gary. I got a couple questions, I guess. So Misha, you showed, I think when you were loading the notice and orders, that it was dependent on 2 things that I'm assuming can be automated, and they are, you said the inspector has to request the date, but I assume the system's smart enough to know what the date is and can be automatically applied, right?
Well, so you're talking about completing the inspection activity?
Yeah, yes.
The system is smart enough to know what date it is, but it's not smart enough to know if your inspector's really done. So right now, the trigger for the notification is today's date and the issue, the status that says either issue notice or issue certificate.
So could it be set up to automate 2 things? Because anytime we do an inspection, there isn't going to be a suggested path forward for an inspector. It's going to be a notice and orders being issued 100% of the time. So
Okay.
under that scenario, could it be constructed so that when they hit submit, both the date gets applied and the notice and order option gets applied?
You know,
I'm not sure
I don't-
about that.
I don't
mean,
know
that's
the
something we'd have
answer
to
to
follow
that.
back up on that. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When you
So
create an
yeah.
activity, like you don't want the system to, like when you create it, you don't want the system, and when you save it, you don't want the system to complete that and issue a notice of violation with it being blank. So there's just some programming things that we have to keep in mind. We can automate a lot of this, but some of it does
It
require
doesn't
user input.
it doesn't work that way now, but I mean, we'd have to look at, is that possible for us to do even? And if so, what would that mean? So, but it is
Okay.
not, that's not how it works now.
All right, appreciate that.
Yeah, we didn't bake it into this scenario, but all of our violations are associated with a follow-up timeline. So this kind of violation, we're going to be back tomorrow. This kind of violation, we're going to be back in a month. This one, so each violation actually has a timeline baked into it, and our system automatically reschedules it for the shortest duration. So if you have 8 violations, if you have no heat in the middle of the winter, we're going to come back tomorrow. So it'll reappear in the inspector's to-do list tomorrow for them to follow up and go back out.
And do they check all 8 violations then, or do they just check for heat and then want to come back in another 3 days when the next violation trigger hits?
I mean, they may just go there for the heat. Sorry to jump in, Jill, but they should know what's outstanding, right? So, I mean, they should know the complete catalog of what needs to be followed up on. What gets abated is another thing. Or in that case, possibly ticketed, because if it's no heat, you might even be ticketed.
So what I understand from our development team is that we have a lot of capability in the system. These types of configuration options need to be programmed in or configured into the system. So I can't show you that right now, but it seems very possible that our system can do that.
Yes, and this process, we're trying to get through it as sort of quickly and thoroughly as we can. So we really appreciate how quickly you turned around the demo. And like I said, we appreciate all of the work you guys have done to date. And we've seen the change between last time and this time. So kudos to you all, and thank you for your time. We do really appreciate everything you've done.
And we appreciate the time to showcase again what Citizenserve has to offer for your permitting and code enforcement. We appreciate your good questions. And let us know if you do have any other questions.
Perfect. All right. Well,
You guys so
have a great
much.
weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.